Gorgeous people, my name is Hajara Petom and I'm the head coach at the Audacity to Soar Network. At the Audacity to Soar Network, I help you make wealth using your skills, talents, experiences, and income. Yes, your income too, because your income is money. It's the first level of getting wealthy. The next thing is, what do I do with the money I make so that I can use my money to make more money, and so that I create ways that my wealth is lasting, that it can transcend generations. So welcome. I practically bullied everyone I know to follow my YouTube channel, because YouTube requires that we have 50 subscribers before you can go live. So today, I'm doing this video as a way of saying thank you to everyone who has subscribed to my channel. Thank you for subscribing. I'm really excited. And because you did your part, because I asked you, and because you so graciously agreed and have followed my page or subscribed. You see, I'm still trying to learn the YouTube lingo. I wanted to do something for you that is like a gift to you. So I've decided, first, I'm going to steward the channel well. I'm just one of those people. You have given me the gift of your subscription, and so I feel like I have to give you the gift of a gift that is valuable, a gift of my knowledge and information that I think would be helpful to you. So one of the first things I'm going to do, because we're in November of 2023 going into 2024, is I'm going to, over the next couple of weeks towards the end of the year, I'm going to guide you in certain things that I believe will make 2024 easier for you. And one of the first things I want to do is to discuss a budget for 2024. Yes, a budget. Now, a disclaimer: I am a lawyer. I don't know mathematics. I'm not great with figures, but I realize that when you're creating wealth, one of the things that happens, especially with women, is that we don't look at our numbers. We don't look the figure in the eye. And because we don't look the figure in the eye, we don't know what we're making. We don't know what we're spending. We don't know what it takes to sustain the life that we're living. We don't know what it takes to have the extras that we want and require. So today I'm just going to run over some budgetary figures and items with you so that you look at them for 2024. Let me know if that's okay. Let me know if that's okay. Let me know if that's okay. Awesome. So I'm a strong advocate for knowing your numbers. One of the reasons why, first you have to, with making money, with sustaining money, with keeping money, you have to know what is coming in. You have to know what I need to go out. You have to know what is necessary to go out, what must go out. What are the things on my budget? What are the line items on my budget that if they didn't go out, I would be embarrassed. My children will be embarrassed. It will affect our basic realities. You have to know what those numbers are. You also have to know what things bring you enjoyment and how can we incorporate them. You have to know, does what I earn cover the way that I want to live? And if it doesn't, what can I do so that I am able to live well and earn, which means I'm earning the money, the extra money I need to live well. And it's different for each person. But let's talk about some of the line items I think should show up in your yearly budget. So I'm looking at mine, for example, and I live in Nigeria, so certain things here would not be applicable to you, but you can look at how they are applicable to you where you live, right? So the first line item on my budget would be diesel. Diesel is what we use to power our generators for electricity. So the first line item on my budget is diesel. The way that my Excel sheet is calibrated is that I have the line item which is called expenditure. So the items are listed under expenditure. I have the monthly requirements, what is required monthly. On the next line, I have quarterly expenses. That's just for my knowledge to understand which ones I spend quarterly and which ones I pay out yearly, right? I also have annual spend. So, for example, if my line item concerning diesel is 100,000 a month, under the monthly part it will be 100,000. Quarterly expenses, it will be 100,000 divided by 4, so it's still the same amount, but I have it by 4 here, and my annual spend for diesel will be 400,000 by 4, meaning 12 months, right? So that's what I'll put in my Excel sheet. So I know that that's a 1.2 million naira expense in a year. Now, the reason why this is important is that it helps you. If you earn money monthly, it helps you see what you need to spend at the end of every month. It also helps you to see, okay, in this quarter, this is the chunk of money I need to spend, and yearly, this is what I spend. So, of course, when you have diesel as the first line item, you have the next thing I have on my sheet is the generator, the cost of the generator. So the reason why I'm going to go into all the items, how I have them listed. I want to also put out a disclaimer that I am married, so most of these costs are not necessarily borne by me. I have a spouse, a partner, and I'm a Nigerian woman who pays most of these bills, which is completely fine. It, however, doesn't mean that you should not be aware of them, because that's also another thing that women do, right? Because there's somebody else taking care of it, we're not aware of what our costs are, what the entire burden is to actually live the life our family is living. And this is important, God forbid, in case you actually have emergencies. Your spouse, for some reason, is not able to work, loses his job, or by reason of illness, or something stops him from being able to do what he should do in the time that he should do it, or what he's offering to do, because I'm not sure it's any longer a should do, right? I'm not sure the world is calibrated like that anymore. But you want to be able to step in. You don't want to be completely ignorant about what is required for your family to run. You don't want to create situations where there's a rude shock for your children, in case anything happens. And so that's why you are also preparing. The other way that I like to think about it as a woman is that I also prepare, I also know, I also save, I also plan, so that, if I'm not spending that money, today, actually, maybe I'm keeping that money, and at the end of the year I can say, oh, I have this amount, this is from our family pot, this is what I've been saving based on things that we need, and since you were able to provide, since we have everything, we're going to invest this in something, real estate, stocks, the S&P 500, travel, whatever it is. But I think that it's very empowering to have something of your own and to be able to bring something to the general conversation of your family's finances. So the next line item I have would be the generator, and that would be maintaining the generator or buying the generator if that was what was required in that time, or upgrading what was existing, servicing, and then put the amounts there. If you live in an estate, or you live in a place where you have electricity and all you're doing is paying a monthly sum, the first thing would then be the power, your power expenses. The next thing I have on my own list will be my my estate payment, so that the estate dues due monthly. I have that, and same thing, monthly, quarterly, annual spend. So if you're spending 50,000 a month, you know already that in a year you're spending about 600,000 on that line item. So you have it written down. Food must go on your list. How much does your family spend on eating monthly? And so this would require, when you have your budget line items, it might require a smaller budget, a sub budget for each subtopic. So for example, if you know that, oh, we have a child who eats maybe gluten-free stuff, who has special needs, eats like this other person in this family eats, is vegan, this other person is pescatarian, and and you eat everything. It'll be good to draw up, what do we actually spend on a monthly basis? At what time in the middle of the month does it seem like I need to go and replenish what I have? All of those items, and then come up with a total for it, for what you do monthly, and that monthly line item becomes the number for food monthly. Now, what I would do in Nigeria is, if I had an amount monthly, I would sort of increase it by a 15% every quarter, just to make room for inflation. Of course, inflation does not actually, grow that much in Nigeria, even though we've seen steep inflation growth in recent years. But just to plan so that I have extras. I also change my food budget around times like Salah, around birthdays of family members, and around holidays, because at those times, even the way we eat is irregular. For some reason, once Christmas is closed, you start craving puddings, you start craving cakes, and stuff like that, or at least I do. So I plan for that in advance in my budget. Now, next to food is actually celebration. So what birthday cakes would cost us, birthday cards, food, and if we're sending things to like maybe a child who's in school, what does it cost us to send things to, let's say, his 50 classmates? That goes into my budget as well. Remember that we're drawing a yearly budget. This you will then break down. It's easy when you do it like this from the beginning, because all you need to do is take out your monthly tab, and then the tab that says monthly, and then what you spend monthly throughout the year. But we're doing an overall budget, and the idea of it is for you to be able to see this budget in December of 2023, with the level of knowledge that you currently have, and say, oh, this is my yearly spend. My yearly spend is 50 million. My yearly spend is 60 million. My yearly spend is this. Because what that helps you do is to then say, oh, but my yearly income, fixed income that I know about is 40. So I have a 20 million gap. At which point, what needs to happen is a almost like a fallback conversation with yourself to start to say, okay, if there's a 20 million gap, what do I need to do? Do I need to cut down on things that are not essential? Do I need to change some of the variables, maybe move from this school to this type of school? Do I need to say, maybe instead of 2 vacations in a year, 1 vacation, or maybe is this the year where we say none? All those things are possible, but the way that I like to think about it, since I teach you to make wealth, is how can we create more so that we can live the way we want to live while, knowing. So the first thing is we're realistic. We know that this is what we want. This is what we want to spend. This is our yearly spend. The next thing is that, oh, but this is what I earn. The next thing is we've realistically identified this is the shortfall. Okay, and then the empowering question is, how can I create more to close this shortfall and to even create extra so that we're able to save and grow from this level of existence? That's the way that I like to think about it. One of the things that I think is that life is short, and I think that life is in the living, it's in the value of everyday living, of love, of friendship, of laughter, of play, of growth, of adventure. So for all of those things to happen, for all of those things to be taken care of, the idea should not be how do we constrain ourselves to what we feel is a limit now. The idea should be how can we grow beyond it? How can I create more? If you read Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, he actually says, train your mind not to say, I cannot afford it. Train your mind to ask the question, how can I afford it? Because what that does, especially, as we know from neuroscience and all of that right now, is that when you ask your mind, your subconscious, a question, it goes out of its way to answer it. And there's something called a confirmation bias. A confirmation bias suggests that if I believe that things are insufficient, I don't have enough, what will happen is, because your brain is programmed to serve you and protect you, your brain will only find out the reasons why you don't have enough. So it will keep pointing out to you, yes, there's scarcity here. No, people don't have. There's inflation. Oh, it's hard. Nigeria is difficult. The world is difficult. We are all in a global recession. Your brain will do its job. But if you tell your brain the other thing and you say, okay, how can I afford it? This is how I want to live. This is the standard and the benchmark I set for myself. And so the question is, how can I make more to live like that? Your brain now starts looking for, oh, there are opportunities here. These people are doing this. This one is wealthy, right? So your brain it's an efficient tool. It's going to find what you teach it to find. And so I want you to remember that. Now, so other things on my list are things like DSCV, or like your entertainment, TV, television subscriptions. I also have my Netflix subscriptions. I also have my internet subscriptions, because those are line items that I must spend monthly, and those are line items that make my family comfortable, that help us live well. So they are in our necessities, right? The next things that go on the list will be things like the nanny. In Nigeria, we have the opportunity, by the grace of God, to have live-in help. So if you're having that, fine. So what her salary is comes in the monthly column. In your quarterly expenses, that's multiplied by 4. In your yearly expenses, that's multiplied by 12. And what you have to do as well is I plan for 2 bonuses in the year, one around the nanny's birthday and another one around Christmas when she's going home for her family. So in those 2 instances, her salary is probably double what she would normally earn. So you put that in there. I would normally also put a cake. So in my celebrations column, there's a little bit of an amount that is targeted at our support staff and our help, so that it's taken care of from the beginning of the year. I also have the gardener's fees, the gardener's monthly fees. The gate man in Africa or in Nigeria, if you don't live in a gated community, which I currently do, but if you don't live in a gated community, your house is gated by yourself, and you usually have a gate man, so that amount has to be planned. The driver of the car, so that also is planned. With the children, I have a line item for my teenager's clothing in a year, because he's a teenager, he is a big boy. My particular son, by the grace of God, has really large feet, so his shoes have a special amount, so I have that written. I have a budget for his yearly clothing and a budget for my daughter's clothing. So that way I know that, okay, in the year, the children will require, over the course of the year, maybe $2,000, $1,500 for the younger one and $2,000 for the older one, and that's all they can spend in the year. But that is a budget line item. I said that in dollars because my budget is actually in Naira. It's Naira because I live in Nigeria and I want to see this picture clearly. But usually the shopping is done when we travel, or when someone travels and we say, oh, please help shop for the kids. So that's why I said that in that currency. I have a line item here for general maintenance. So the plumbing, taking care of the house, touching up the paint, and all of that. Those are things that people don't usually count as expenses, but they're expenses and they would come in. So I have general maintenance for home. I have general maintenance for car. So for the cars, you service them. We service them every 3 months, So putting an amount to that, the servicing would normally top up the engine oil, all of that. But I also have another line item for car emergencies. And this is what you save as your rainy day fund. You just keep it aside, your emergency fund, just in case anything happens. You want to be able to draw on something, because what we know about life is that you just don't know the timing of the emergency, but you know that for sure an emergency is coming, like it's coming. So just prepare for it. Okay. The other thing I have, so the cars and an emergency fund. We used to have 2 large Rottweilers that we completely love. So I have a budget for dog food, a line item for dog food, dog immunization, and the vet. So those are 3 line items. In the house, we use things like gas for cooking. I have a line item for that. School fees payable for the children every, I think 3 monthly or quarterly. We have a line item for that, and I like to break that even into, so that's payable, I think on average 3 times a year, except when they're in higher classes, when it's 2 times a year. So what I do is I first input that figure in the annual column, and then we break it down. So you know how when you use Excel, the column for monthly for that number is annual figure divided by 12. So I know what it takes monthly, because sometimes, it's a lot of the time you don't get the money in bulk for what you want to do. But the idea of doing your budget in this way is to say, from my salary every month, this amount needs to be saved, or from my earnings every month, this amount needs to be saved, so that I can take care of this line item that exists. Do you understand? So that you're breaking it down so that barring or not planning on having bulk money from your monthly income, you're putting aside a certain amount which feeds into your annual or which feeds into your quarterly. I think this is really important because where we're usually shocked and surprised, and that's why we say, like, when it's your birthday and your spouse says to you, oh, I'm sorry, I'm broke right now, I didn't plan for it. And especially as women, we ask questions like, you knew about this day 12 months ago. The reason why it actually seems unrealistic that, oh, you knew about it 12 months ago and you didn't plan for it, the reason why it seems like, things came up and that's why it wasn't done, is because it was not planned for in such a way that a little amount was put aside monthly for that day. So when it came, it still comes as a surprise, even though you knew about it 12 months ago. Early on in my marriage, a friend of mine said to me, don't postpone Valentine's, don't postpone anniversaries, don't postpone birthdays, because what happens is that it becomes a habit. You form a habit of not celebrating each other, of not loving each other, because something will always come up. And so if you're not postponing, then you have to be planning for it. And so that's what I would say. So I would still break down yearly expenses, even like rent as well. So rent is also another line item, and I share with you often, even if you even if you own the house you live in, I still suggest that you look around you and find out what the rental value of your house is and pay yourself rent. Because then what happens is that amount that you pay is available for you to invest in, another property, or invest in whatever form of thing you want, but you're not losing that money. And you're also learning the discipline of keeping aside money for rent. It's so important. On my list, I have items like your summer vacation. I have items like your summer vacation, the vacation with as a family, the vacation with the family for Christmas, a short one. It might then be within Africa or a closer place. And then the vacation that is for the couple, so you and hubby. So 3 vacations, that's how I have it written. You can choose what's realistic for you, because I also have one where I go on my own on my list. It doesn't mean that all these items it doesn't mean they actually happen. It's that you want to have planned for them. You want to actually see the budget and say, okay, this is how I would like to live my life in 2024, and these are the things it will take. I also have here entertainment, Salah, Christmas, family birthdays, and any other support we might need. Because I'm a lady, I have my monthly fees for my nails. I like to have my nails done. It's just me. If you don't like to have your nails done, what do you like doing? I have a massage twice a month, so I have the masseuse on my list. I get my hair done twice a month, so I have that on my list as well. My daughter gets her hair done twice a month, so I have that on my list as well. So you see, like, those are the things that go into your life, your budget. The way that I want you to think about it is that you're thinking about your whole year in advance, and you're saying, what does it take to actually live this year well financially? And once you've decided what it takes, once you know what it takes, because you don't know if you don't record it, once you know what it takes, then you are in a position to say, okay, do I actually have it? And what are the ways that I can have it? The interesting thing about it is that you remember that what you focus on is what you see. So if we give I'm sure you've heard this example often of, let's say I decide to buy a black Bentley, for example, or a black Ford. And all of a sudden, because I want a black Ford, all I see on the road is a black Ford. Or a woman, when she says, oh, I'm ready to have a child, that's when everybody she sees is actually pregnant. But what's happening is that those people have always been there, but it has never been your focus. All of a sudden, it's your focus, so you start to see it everywhere, right? It's the same thing. When you know that my plan is to live this way this year, and you actually have seen at the beginning either that there's a shortfall, or yes, there's more than enough, and so then I want to also have a portion that goes into investments and growing my money and all of that. Charity, on that list. Tithe is also on my list in terms of, okay, I pay my tithe on my income, on my earnings as well. And please don't argue with me about the tithe. Do what you want. I just have it on my list, right? When you know all of that, it opens your eyes to the opportunity. Is the money there? Is the money not there? Can I, can I live this way well? And in what ways can I create it? So, thank you for watching this live on your budget. What I'm going to do next, the next time I come on live, I'm going to discuss with you how you can make more money to cover the shortfall if there is, and if there's no shortfall when you've done this. But you have to give me feedback. You have to send comments, send me a comment telling me that you actually did your budget using an Excel sheet or whatever works for you, that you actually did your budget. And when you send me that feedback, I will then have the next discussion when I go live again. YouTube, I have 50 subscribers now, but it didn't let me go live, so I pre-recorded this. So I hope that by the next time I'll actually be going live on YouTube, and then we will talk about how do we make more money and what are the fundamentals for me. What must I have? How do I ensure that I have what I must have? And how do I increase the earnings I have so that I can make more to cover? One of the principles that I have at the Audacity to Soar, and which I teach my clients a lot, is the 3 times rule. We don't spend our money the first time we make it. We turn our money into more money 3 times before we spend the initial seed we got, so that way we're increasing. We keep increasing our wealth. Ciao, my name is Hajara Peton, and I'm the head coach at the Audacity to Soar Network, and this is my first real video for YouTube. Yay! Welcome.